I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition. It is February 27th, 2014. It is the Thursday edition, DTRH. First half hour, I'm going to be getting into a few things. Well, probably one or two things. I'm going to promo the shirts again and go over a couple stories, and then after the first segment is over, from 10:30 on until midnight, I'm going to have two broadcasters on who I'm going to be introducing to you all tonight. Kristan Harris and Mike Paczesny. They do a show called The Rundown Live. They're out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Local activists, members of We Are Change out there. Both really great guys. They do a show 5 days a week, an hour before I come on. They're on from 9 to 10. And I want to showcase these guys. I want to introduce you to them. They're really just awesome individuals. Two great guys. And I actually, I've told them both this. I don't know if they believe me or not, but I actually listen to their show every day. I usually don't get a chance to listen to it live, but Mike is good. He puts it up on YouTube really fast, and he's much better at it than I am. I usually take a day or two to get it up on YouTube. Mike's got his stuff up ASAP within an hour or two. And when I'm working on my archives and stuff late at night, or working on stuff on Federal Jack, or doing graphic designs for the website or whatever, like when I was designing the T-shirts, I'll go over to YouTube, and if I haven't gotten a chance to tune in the past day or two, I'll grab a couple of the shows, and then I sit and listen to them while I'm working. So they do a good job. I like them. They have a good dynamic and a good flow between the two of them. And they're bringing a lot of this information, the stuff I talk about, stuff everybody else talks about, Joe, everybody here at the network. They're bringing it to their local listeners. I mean, they're heard worldwide on the internet, but I believe they're also heard locally in that area too. So that's pretty cool. And they're both good guys. So I'm going to introduce you to them, get their thoughts on all of this craziness. I know they're definitely against police brutality. In fact, I think Mike is a member of the local cop block out there, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll have them get into all that stuff. I'm going to have them promote themselves, tell you where you can get their archives and everything else. So just stay tuned and listen for that. Again, 10:30 to midnight, they'll be on with me. Both hosts from the Rundown Live, Kristan Harris and Mike Paczesny. So stay tuned for that. Don't go anywhere. But the next half hour, you're going to have to deal with me and me alone ranting. Oh, boy, do I have a few things to go off on. Okay, first and foremost, Boynton Beach father delivers daughter at hospital without doctor or nurse. Now, some people are like, oh my God, this is a taste of Obamacare to come. Well, it could be, but that's not the case. I just found this interesting. This guy, they're at this hospital, this guy and his wife, she's giving birth, and the doctors gave her medication to induce labor. And in the process of doing so, while taking care of her, one of the other women in the ward needed an emergency cesarean section. So they ran off to go take care of her, and they stopped the drip, where the doctor ordered the drip of this cocktail stopped, but it was too late. I mean, sometimes, once you start the body on its little chemically induced journey to whatever it's doing, there is no stopping it. And that's what happened, and she was ready to give birth. And the reason I'm bringing this up is it goes to show you the level of care and training that these doctors and nurses are being taught now as opposed to, 20, 30 years ago, even 10 years ago. Okay? The nurse, the doctor tells the nurse, you stay with them. I'll be right back. I got to go do this cesarean section really quick, make sure everything's okay. Obviously, if anything happens, come get me. So, or call for me. But, you're the nurse, so you have to stay with these people. Well, the doctor goes and does the cesarean section, and the woman continues to go into labor, and the nurse is telling her, look, you need to stop it. You need to hang on. Well, maybe the men out there can't understand this, but I'm pretty sure once your body goes into, labor and it's ready to give birth and the baby's ready to come out, I know some women, scream, oh, put it back in, make it stop, but I don't think that's going to happen. And the kid came out. And instead of the nurse doing what she was supposed to do and stand there, and this is where I say that the training and stuff that they have, and I understand you could be nervous and everything, but you're trained for stuff like this. That's your duty, It's what you go to school for. A very close friend of mine went to school to be a nurse, and took him almost 4 years between college and then going, for nursing and stuff, just to be able to be an RN. Okay. And he takes his job seriously. I know so do his fellow nurses. Anyway, this nurse takes off, just leaves the room, freaks out because the woman won't stop, being in labor. Doesn't know what to do and just takes off, I guess. Ran down the hall to get the doctor and came back. And by the time they came back, the baby was born. The father of the child delivered the baby himself in the hospital room. No doctor, no nurse in the room. Mother and father. Father delivered baby in hospital room. I could tell you if that were me, I would tell the hospital, take that bill and stick it in their craw. You got to be out of your mind. I would be so pissed off, and obviously the mother and father of this child were pissed off. But I bring this up because, you see all these commercials on TV. Be a nurse, medical professional. We need medical professionals. And with Obamacare, you do see a lot of these older school medical professionals retiring because they don't want to deal with it. So, and a lot of people will say, oh, well, that's fine. Who cares if these old people retire? Screw them. The old people need to retire. We need to get new, fresh meat in there. Yeah, problem is, new, fresh meat doesn't know what they're doing and freaks out under pressure, i.e., newer nurse, and it wasn't her first day, but newer nurse freaks out when baby is being born and takes off. That's like a firefighter going through training and stuff, and then you're on the scene of a fire, and you pull up, and it's not. I'm not talking about your first live fire, but you pull up on a fire one day and say it's a car fire, and suddenly you're afraid of fire, and you don't know what to do. You see the car fire, and you're standing there, and you just drop the hose, and you throw your hands up in the air, and you start, oh my God, what do I do? I mean, it's come on, you're trained for this. There's no excuse for this. Well, the doctor was like, well, she might have been, she's newer, so she might have been nervous, so she just takes off. Okay, that's the new generation of medical professionals coming in. That's why I bring this up. That's the new medical professionals coming in, this new generation. And you know what, again, a lot of it, not just the training they receive in medical school, but a lot of it has to do with how they're raised and how they're brought up. People forget that. There's this huge disconnect with how how they raise their children, and then how these said children that are raised, in perhaps maybe not the best environment or properly, they're going to be adults one day, and we're going to have to deal with them. And now we are dealing with them, and a lot, it's like the military, or police or whatever else too. Same thing. People go, I don't understand how come these people are so dumb. They just do whatever they're told. Blah blah blah. Well, look at the pool that the military, police, and they're all fishing from. Look at that pool. That age generation. Look at them. Don't look at them like they're cops or anything else. Look at them if you go to the store. People of the same age, that same generation. Look at them when you go to the store and there's a problem at the cash register and they don't know what to do and they have to call the manager over because something didn't scan. I mean, God forbid. Oh my God, what do I do? Right? Then they can't even handle that. That's this generation, ladies and gentlemen. This is the same generation that, they go to school. They're nurses too, They're doctors too. And just because they got a degree doesn't mean they know what they're doing, by the way, or know how to handle pressure. This is the kind of crap that we have to put up with. Just great. Just lovely. So this is what we have to look forward to. Okay? I mean, it's a bit of training. I know people get nervous and stuff, but that's where the training comes in. And that's what military training is for. You think people aren't scared when they're getting shot at? Believe me, when bullets are whizzing over your head or whipping past your ear, you're nervous. You're scared. But your training kicks in and is supposed to take over. And also, again, it also has to do a lot with how you're raised and the morals that you're taught and how, you think. So all the older school doctors and nurses who have a lot of experience and come from a different generation, they're retiring. And the newer ones are going to be like this chickadee that, however old she was, it really doesn't matter, freaked out and took off. And the father had to deliver the baby. Well done. I can tell you, again, I would not be paying for anything in that hospital. Of course, in the article I read about it, we've upgraded them to the VIP suite. Oh, I'm sure you did. Of course, I'm sure you'll charge them for the VIP suite, too. I've dealt with doctors before. I know how it works. When my mother was in the hospital dying of cancer, they pretended to give her a free air mattress, but they billed us for it later till I reminded the doctor that he said it was free in front of a room full of people repeatedly. And then it became free. Sometimes you got to make them stay true to their word. Anyway, that's the future we have to look forward to. This new school batch of doctors and nurses are incompetent and they're afraid of their job. I mean, by the way, the cops are the same way. There's a video where a cop got into it. He picked a fight with a drunk guy that was at a wedding, and it turns out the guy was a firefighter. Of course, I'm sure the cop didn't know it at the time. But anyway, they got into a fist fight, and the firefighter, even though he was drunk, got the better of the cop, and he knocked him on the ground. So rather than pull his taser out or call for backup, or even call for backup before he took the guy on, the cop just pulls his gun out, shoots the guy dead right there. Boom, boom, boom. Wedding party. Guy's got his tuxedo outfit on. Shoots him dead right there. You're done. And of course, he was justified because the guy knocked him down on the ground, so that's their excuse. Well, he was justified, but the cop started it because he walked up to the guy and started the fight with the guy. Okay, the guy might have been belligerent, might have been whatever, but if you got a guy like that, why don't you call for backup first? Why don't you bring your taser out right off the bat? Why, you have a taser. Well, what's the point of the taser, officer? Really, what's the point of it? I don't get it. Could maybe a cop email me or come on the show? I've asked for that before, by the way, to the police officers. I know you guys listen to my show. There are some out there. Guys, you don't have to use your real name, but I need somebody to come on the broadcast that is a police officer to talk about this stuff because I'd like to pick your brain on it. You can defend it. I won't start a fight with you. I'll be respectful. I wouldn't treat you like that on air, but I want answers. And I want to know the truth. I want to know how many police officers actually think that this stuff is justifiable and how many people are awake out there that do this job. You couldn't have tased the guy. You had to shoot him. I understand he was drunk, maybe out of hand, throwing fists. But you're a police officer. Your job isn't to go out there and execute people. That should be the last resort, but nope. They'll tase you for not signing a ticket, or dry stun you by taking the front of the taser off and putting the device right at the gun itself, whatever you want to call it, the taser, the prongs, the electrodes, without the little things that shoot out, the little prongs with the wires, just the taser unit itself, the two electrodes sticking out. They'll stick it up to you and give you a dry stun. I've seen cops do it when I was a tow truck driver. Okay? And by the way, when they say that it doesn't do anything to you and it doesn't hurt and blah, blah, wrong, and wrong. I know a cop that when people used to give him crap, he used to hit him in the stomach with it, and it would make their stomach muscles go all haywire, and they would crap themselves. Okay? Yeah. And he did it purposely. He did it to women. He did it to guys. They know. Don't, sometimes you got to be, look, the only, I'm trying to put this nicely because I'm not trying to label all cops bad, but nowadays you got to be a pretty sadistic prick to want to do that job, because it goes from 0 to 60 in about 3.5 seconds, and there's no in between. Honestly, I think it should be the opposite way. I think you should have, how they give psychological tests. I think the psychological testing should be done in reverse, so that way they test you, and if you're prone for, or have the markers or whatever personality traits that they look for, or you're prone to violence or whatever it is that they look for, your IQ is like, below 90 or below, it's actually below 100, I was being facetious, but, look for smarter people. Look for people who don't match, like whatever the matches that they have, the personality profile for the cops now, you want the exact 180 of that, okay? So you want good people. It's not like it used to be. And yeah, not every police officer or sheriff or whatever that joins the force is a bad guy. There really still are good people out there that join because they think that they're going to be able to do good. Okay? I get it. I know it. I have friends that are like that. I also have friends that quit because they're like, screw this. This isn't what I was told. This isn't what I want to do. And again, why do you think they hire cops that have an IQ less than 100? Because the cops with an IQ less than 100 aren't going to ask questions. They're just going to do what they're told. In fact, one police chief, when they asked him, he said, wow, we have too high of a turnover rate. So because they have too high of a turnover rate of smarter police officers, they've decided to hire stupider police officers. And of course, you said it was because of the monotonous, overtone to the job, meaning that, it's kind of boring. You sit in the patrol car and you pull speeders over and you do this and you do that. Yeah, I'm sure it had nothing to do with these guys actually searching their own souls and having some common sense and thinking for themselves. And that's why you hire stupider people to do what you want them to do, because they don't ask questions. They just say, yes, sir. Do it, right? No, I'm sure that has nothing to do with it. Oh, and by the way, for you out there, those listeners that might say to me, oh, you rag on cops too much. No, I don't. I actually expose, how this divide is being pushed between us, the regular, average, everyday citizen, and the police officers out there, okay? I've exposed how they're using both people, like, both sets of people like chess pieces, and how they're playing one off against the other, they being the powers that shouldn't be. But the bad stuff needs to be exposed, okay? And unfortunately, there's a lot of bad stuff. I'm not the one that tells these morons to go out and do this stuff. Like, I don't have like a daily meeting with every bad police officer and sheriff's deputy in the United States, and we have a big Skype conference call, and I tell them to go out and do bad stuff so I can talk about it. Really? I don't have that kind of power, and that those type of events just don't occur. Anyway, I want to play an audio piece for you really quick, highlighting another example of corruption in the police department. This time, a handful of cops, I think it was 5 or 6 of them, they had 5 or 6, there actually might even have been more, but I know it was a third of the city police force, we'll say. A third of the King City, California police force was arrested. A third of the police force was arrested for corruption. Listen to this.
And more than a third of the police officers in the small California town of King City have been arrested. This is all for their involvement in a scheme to steal impounded cars belonging to poor families who happen to be Latino immigrants. In fact, one of the police officers was promised he could keep one vehicle for every 10 to 15 vehicles he steered to a particular towing company. So for more insight on all of this, I want to bring in RT's Ramon Galindo from our LA studio. Ramon, first of all, tell us how this scheme really worked.
Right, Amira. Well, residents of this small town of King City had been complaining that police had been taking their cars for years, but this investigation involving the Monterey County District Attorney's Office and the FBI just started about 6 months ago. Now, in the criminal complaint, it's alleged that a sergeant there in King City between 2010 and 2013 had towed and impounded more than 200 vehicles. And as you mentioned in the introduction, for every 10 to 15 that he would bring to the lot, he would get one in return. Now, the part of the problem is that most of the cars that he was impounding were being sent to just one tow yard. Nearly 90% of all the impounded cars were going to this one tow yard. Problem is that this tow yard also happens to belong to the brother of the acting police chief there in King City. So things did seem a little strange there. Ultimately, the district attorney did step in, ultimately arresting 6 officers and a civilian.
Obviously, a small conflict of interest there with the towing company. But talk about what these police officers are being charged with right now.
Sure. The most serious charges are bribery and embezzlement, all felony charges which carry up to 4 years with each count.
And, you know, this is a very bizarre scheme to try and pull off and really think they could get away with it. The prosecutor in the case has even said that he's considering charging the officers with hate crimes. Do you know anything about that, how this could be considered a hate crime?
Sure. The lead prosecutor in this case said that he was considering hate crime charges against some of these officers. The problem was that a lot of these cars that were taken from Latino families that come from disadvantaged areas there in the city. At the end of the day, proving racial animus in the court of law is very difficult, and ultimately the DA's office decided that it wasn't so much of a racial thing, more of a thing where the police were just targeting the most vulnerable people in this community, many of which had very few financial resources, and many of whom just didn't speak English.
And as I understand it, authorities said that while they were investigating the initial crimes, they stumbled across some other illegal activity. Do you know anything about that?
Right. Well, one of the officers which was arrested this week is being charged with possession of an assault rifle and illegal storage of a weapon. Very tough gun laws here in California. Another officer was charged with making criminal threats against a resident there in King City, and the district attorney this week mentioned that the investigation is ongoing, so we could see more arrests come in the coming days and weeks.
So we'll have to wait and see. But I want to, shift attention to one particular police officer or former police officer that was arrested, former police chief Nick Baldiviez. He's coming under scrutiny. This is not the first time that, he's sort of come under pressure. What's his history?
Yeah, the former chief back in 2010, he was put on leave. He was accused of showing up to a crime scene drunk, actually a murder scene, and stepping in some blood and also putting down his coffee cup there, potentially contaminating the scene. Now, those charges he was ultimately cleared in, but he received a vote of no confidence from the police union, police officers saying that he had retaliated against them. Ultimately, his troubled tenure ended last year when he retired, but he's still getting paid by the city.
And interestingly, King City is not the only California city making headlines this week. San Diego Police Department chief also stepped down amidst allegations of sexual misconduct by police officers in his force. What's the latest on that case? And we only have about 30 seconds left.
Sure. Well, officially, William Lansdowne, his last day is tomorrow. Since 2011, at least 9 officers there have been accused of a range of crimes and misconduct, from rape to sexual battery to DUI. The most serious lately was an officer who is facing several charges of sexual battery. Ultimately, he said that this wasn't the cause for his resignation. However, a new police chief has been named. San Diego Police did not return my phone calls for comment. However, she's been there. It's the first female chief in the city, but however, she's been there for decades. So it's still a lot of questions as to whether someone who's been in the system for so long could really reform a police department that's seen quite a bit of misconduct in the last few years.
Misconduct is becoming more and more frequent, it seems, in the state of California. RT's Ramon Galindo from our LA studio. Thank you.
You bet.
But only cops should have firearms. Nobody should have firearms, and only cops should be allowed to break the law and violate laws and be immune to laws because they're better than us, right? I mean, there's no evidence that they ever do anything wrong, right? Wrong. That's why they're not a special class. And in fact, if anything, the only higher standard that they should be held to is their actions, meaning if they do something wrong, they should be punished twice as hard for said crime than a regular, average, everyday Joe. Why? Because they ought to know better. They're the ones that are out there enforcing the laws. They're the ones that had the training and went to school. They're the ones that are supposed to know the law. They're not the ones that are supposed to violate the law. Of course, we do live in a bizarro world. Break sneaking up, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. We can get back. My 2 guests for the evening, the hosts of the Rundown Live, Kristan Harris, Mike Paczesny. Stay tuned. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. My 2 guests tonight are with me. I want to introduce you to them, and I'm going to give them the floor immediately and allow them to introduce themselves to you. You know how I roll. Let me introduce you to the 2 hosts of the Rundown Live, and I urge you to go listen to the broadcast. As I said earlier, I do listen to it every day, and if I don't get a chance to listen to it live, I do listen to it on YouTube, so I urge you to as well. Let me introduce you to the 2 hosts of the Rundown Live, Mike Paczesny and Kristan Harris. Welcome to the show, boys.
It's a pleasure, pleasure, Popeye. What's up? How you guys doing?
Well, first I got to say, it's been too long since I chatted with you guys on air. I needed to get you guys on sooner. Just been so busy and slammed with recovering from surgery and going on the road trip to Dallas and everything else. So I wanted to get settled and back to some level of normalcy before I had you guys on. But now that I'm back and copacetic, I'm glad I have the opportunity to get you guys on. So I'm going to shut up, and whichever one of you wants to take the floor, introduce yourselves to my listeners, tell them a little bit about yourselves and a little bit about the radio show, and then we'll get into a slew of topics.
Well, I guess, Kristan, if you don't mind, I'll field that for this 1 minute here. I'm Mike Paczesny from the Rundown Live, good friend of Popeye, known you for years, man, through the activist community online and stuff. Basically, me and Kristan, we were activists and we wanted to get involved, and we started a radio show, and we cover alternative news, things you won't see on mainstream media, police brutality, ancient history, all kinds of things that basically you would never see on Fox News. And, I don't want to speak for Kristan, but we both had different I'll say activist upbringings. I know, Kristan, if you want to tell them you were more of a conservative, I was more of a Occupy type, So we both have different backgrounds, and it gives it a cool dynamic so we can give the information different perspectives, Yeah,
Mike and I definitely have different backgrounds when it comes to activism. I come from more of a traditional background, very religious family, not saying Mike didn't, but I think that a lot of that comes out in my some of my beliefs and different researches. By no means does it not influence my beliefs. I do think it's very interesting how we met, because Mike and I were trying to do the same thing, but separately. I was trying to do some cheesy thing called the Matrix News, where I was going to have some bizarre stories. I was really into things that are unexplained. A lot of people know me for like writing articles about giant human skeletons being dug up from ancient newspaper articles and things like that. I have a lot of weird hobbies, which has really brought me to some amazing research. And I kind of got involved politically because of Ron Paul. I found out that not all politicians are the same and that there are people trying to make a difference out there. And through that, I think that's where Mike and I kind of met. He was doing the Rundown Live. He was about 30 episodes in. I was writing for a local Journal Sentinel off-branch called SouthMilwaukeeNow.com, which they gave me a blog. They're crazy enough to do that, and it is the #1 blog on their website. And through that, Mike found me, and we started talking, and he had me on the show one night. And I guess it went real well because Mike asked me to do this, and I said, well, I don't know how well I'd be at talking radio, but I'll give it a shot. And kind of
not very good, apparently.
Not very good, apparently. So that's kind of my end and my background. I've always been a libertarian. I've always been real, I try to do your best to be honorable, don't violate my individual liberties. I won't, violate yours. Your freedom to swing your fists ends in my nose type deal. So, being offended is bull, that stuff.
Just stress we're regular guys. At the end of the day, we show up 5 days a week to do this show. We're regular guys, but we care about what's going on. And, we're not the kind of guys that are going to be like mandating things. We don't like health care. We don't like mandated things like UN Agenda 21. You can't have wells in your backyard.
Common Core education.
Yeah, any stuff, right?
Anything that's statism, anything that's so good that they have to force you to do it. What about this educational system where we allow the local branches to decide what's best for their local communities? Why do they have to federalize it and have these bizarre doctrines and this incredibly disgusting and perverted education that our children are now starting to receive? I feel sorry. That what it was that just last week they found a couple of kindergartners having sex in the bathroom.
Yes. Wonderful. Popeye, we're all over the place, bro.
That's why I love you, dude. You guys rock. That's why I love listening to your show. Honestly, I'll when I get off air, I'll be working on my archives and I'll be doing stuff for the site and stuff.
But it's like what happened to the world? It's just gone crazy. What's wrong with everyone? Popeye, tell us. Dude, we live in bizarro world. I don't have to tell you guys.
That is very true. It is true.
Somehow I woke up one day and walked outside and I was like, what the hell? Where am I?
Right? What is it now? They want to make a baby with 2 women and 1 man? And what is this chimera? This is going to...
Oh, yeah. 3 types of DNA and 1 GMO child.
How is that anyone moral? What kind of honor is there in that? Now they're going to have to fight for rights for Petri dish children, science lab kids.
Who may end up looking like Goro, by the way.
Don't
4 arms.
Don't laugh, but that's actually happened in other instances. Sperm donors. There was a case a couple weeks ago. I read about this because I hate the family court system. It's so unconstitutional and evil. It's ridiculous. But this guy, he gave his sperm to a sperm clinic, I don't know, like 10 years ago, whatever. And these 2 lesbians, they got married. They went into the sperm clinic. They wanted to have kids. They had, they picked his sperm for whatever reason, got pregnant. And, I guess they notify the guy and, when his sperm gets picked or whatever. And, he said, I donated it. I want nothing to do with this child or, whatever. And they said, yeah, whatever. We want nothing to do with him. We're married. Well, couple of years down the road or whatever, however long it was, a year or 2 down the road, the 2 lesbians decide they don't want to be married anymore and they get divorced. So now the court system wants this dude, the sperm donor, to pay child support for that child because it was his sperm that created it, even though he had nothing to do with the child whatsoever.
I did hear about this, Popeye. It's interesting because you have to wonder, he did donate the sperm after all. You know what I mean?
I mean, the moral of the story is don't donate sperm.
Right.
Sperm. What's wrong with you?
I don't agree with that, though. I don't agree with them coming after him, but he donated the sperm.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't just think like back. I guess back in the day, people would have thought, oh, well, I can go to a sperm clinic, donate my sperm, get a couple $100 for it or whatever, and quick couple $100 in my pocket, go out and hang out with the guys for the weekend or whatever, and I'm all good to go. And then years later, that thing that couple $100 you made, that bad decision, ends up costing you, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 in child support for a kid that you don't even see or spend time with or have any part in raising. I mean, and the weird part was it wasn't the woman who went after him and said, well, I want child support from him. They actually argued for him. They like the attorney on her side said, look, he did this guy, we wanted nothing to do with him. The women wanted nothing to do with him, blah, 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 blah. State didn't care. Nope, he's got to pay. I mean, welcome to family court.
How many African children could you sponsor for that a month? I mean, I'm just kidding, but it's ridiculous. They shouldn't have to come after him. That's absolutely astounding. I think that if he donated, what's wrong with people, man? I'm trying to tell you, Popeye, there's something wrong. I don't know if it's the fluoridation in the water. Speaking of that, have you heard of? Did you see Mark Howitt's video?
The fluoridation one that got ripped from YouTube?
Yeah, sure did.
Gee, why does it not surprise me that his video got pulled from YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, whenever people tend to make documentaries that focus on a subject such as something like fluoride that's in everybody's drinking water, it usually these things get deleted for 1 minute of a song or like a 2-second news clip that's really he didn't even have it monetized, but we did get that up, by the way. That's back up. So if you guys want to check out, it's not on YouTube though. You gotta Google that.
Where is it? Over on your website? You got
it sure is over on our website, Popeye.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And it's just crazy. It's just absolutely nuts. This whole trying to make life out of a petri dish. It's disgusting.
The island of Dr. Moreau, but in real life. So they're taking crappy B-rated science fiction movies and they're actually making it real. That's just lovely.
Well, the libertarian asshole comes out in me sometimes, and I'm just like, something tells me, just don't donate your sperm. If you don't ever want this problem, if you don't ever want the state or some government entity to hold you accountable for a child, then simply don't donate your sperm to a sperm bank, because I'm sure you signed some type of contract that even though you're signing away your rights...
It's in the fine print.
Yeah, it's in the fine print. I'm just assuming,
And I made the joke before, but it's about the whole postcard thing. When you donate your sperm, you don't know where it goes, what kind of children it's helping. You don't get personal involvement in it, and it's just absolutely. I think it's horrific.
Well, what happens if in the future they don't need even that to make a baby? What happens if they figure out a way to do it from the DNA? And say somehow, now, somebody has access to your DNA, not only, you going into a clinic, but they could have access to it. The cops could take it. Anybody could. Once they start cloning stuff like that, and I know it sounds crazy now, but the stuff we thought was crazy 10 years ago is now reality. So.
Well, I think the point is to make them disease free. Is it not? They're going to be pure, and we don't know.
That's just creepy. That's just totally... Why would you want to manufacture children in a petri dish? I don't care if... Well, I'd like to be able to know that my child was going to be healthy, Popeye. Then feed it healthy, take care of it, make sure that when you're pregnant, you don't do stupid things, you don't eat crappy foods laced with crappy ingredients like chemicals and GMO foods and all this other garbage, and sometimes you will have a kid that maybe will be, messed up or whatever. Perhaps if you didn't give them all the vaccines when they came out, that
right.
would, I'm sure that has nothing to do with it, though.
Well, we should talk about that for a minute. Look at how
I was
going to
say the damn problem with this, the designer babies, before you talk about vaccines, is, what happens when, the elite and the rich start saying, oh, I want my child to glow in the dark, and I want my child to be able to see in the dark.
Don't they have that? Like,
and you can kind of pay for options like you're buying a car. Like, oh, I want my child to have superior arm strength so he can be a pitcher or a quarterback in the NFL. So, what's that extra 20 grand, And this is where I see it going. This is just my assumption. But when you're talking about vaccines, that's a whole nother ballgame. What's that doing, causing cancers, autism, things like that? There's a big debate about that as well.
I agree with Mike here. Let's not forget. Remember the spider goat conspiracy? There was no.
Oh yeah, it wasn't right. It wasn't real.
Yeah, it wasn't real until it was real.
Yeah, they spun the webs out of spiders, right? But it was a goat milk.
Yeah, they took a gene from a spider and they put it inside of the goat, and that way, whenever the goat produced the goat milk, inside the milk was this enzyme that they would, it would produce this silk-like material, and when they would put it through this little machine and it would spin it, and the silk was stronger than
body armor.
That's what they were making. They were making new body armor out of it. It was stronger than the Kevlar armor that's out there right now. I mean, so we're making spider goats to make body armor.
It doesn't exist, though. Even though you saw it on TV, it clearly doesn't exist, Popeye. Don't worry about that.
I know, it's all fake.
Isn't that bizarre, though? What else are they doing? That makes you wonder, what else do they have in that creepy little Mangala-type caverns underneath the earth? What are they really experimenting with these chimeras? You've seen these humanzees and these other bizarre things coming out of Japan, where they have what are they, like amphibious, like frog type creatures that they're just making. They're just playing with life.
Dude, Stalin wanted an army of apes. You know that, right?
I mean, it would be foolish to assume they're not doing this in like shady laboratories in China and Japan, and they are doing.
That's what scares me. Is like the Chinese can't make quality drywall, and these people are messing around with gene splicing. Like, you know what I'm saying, dude?
It took them a little longer to get a couple things done, right?
Well, I think it's the whole point that they want to play God at this point. I mean, you see these people who are invested in this, heavily invested in eugenics. I mean, what do they say? Like 52% of African American babies are aborted. How disgusting is that? And then they invest in this life extension technology, which also ties into this whole transhumanism movement with being able to pick what characteristics your children have, being able to add memories to future bodies.
Just implant the memories. Yeah, you didn't experience it, but go ahead. You won the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, what kind of career did you want to have, in the past,
Wasn't that in Total Recall?
Or Terminator or Judge Dredd.
Wasn't that the vacation package thing that they could do? They would like implant the memories into your head.
Yeah.
And then you remembered that you were on this like vacation island in Mexico and really you never left your cubicle.
Yeah, and I don't mean the new Total Recall because I didn't even watch that piece of crap.
No, neither did I.
I mean the original. So not that I like Schwarzenegger. He's a D-bag in himself, but the original movie, the old movie, not this. They remake everything. Ugh, that's because they're unoriginal. By the way, they have to keep telling the same crap over and over again.
Hollywood would be able to come up with some like new, fresh Illuminati symbolism to show everybody some new Masonic symbolism, but they got to keep remaking Batman and Spider-Man and the comic book movies every 2 years because the Hulk hasn't been made enough. Popeye.
I think it's the propaganda towards the youth. They can the kids love it and they eat it up, and it's the propaganda behind it and everything else that they can force feed us within it. I mean, look at the whole Batman series and the controversy with the whole Sandy Hook on the map and Bane and everything else.
Some of that stuff, though.
Reaching. It's reaching.
Yeah, some of that is reaching. Like, really reaching. Like, that when that whole Sandy Hook thing went down, and believe me, I've looked into it. I just interviewed...
It's just bizarre.
That dude Wolfgang, the guy that got harassed by the cops.
Right.
I interviewed him, and during my interview, he got harassed the first time in December. He got harassed the second time, 2 times in a row the day I interviewed him, right before the interview and during the interview. Okay? So I get Sandy Hook, I said from the door it was strange. I just didn't want to jump on the bandwagon and be like, my God, it's all fake right from the get-go, because
It's a credibility thing.
Well, none of us had any. Really, we didn't have that much info to make that call yet. You can't make that call that night, right then and there. You can say it's shady and it might be this and it might be that, but you can't definitively say yes or no. And with that event, there was a lot of people that were just hopping on total misinfo, or I call it shinfo.
You mean like the burning snow, when everybody just jumps on something because it's trending?
Trying to light their snow on fire?
Dude, when that happened, I put it up on Facebook. I said, this is either like a hoax or people are stupid.
It's the end of humanity. It is. It really is. I mean, they probably had more people exposed to Fukushima radiation on that day in the Midwest than all time, because the radiation's coming down from the sky, from the water, in the snow, and then here people are standing out in their yards burning it with lighters like morons. It's crazy.
You ever wonder if the powers that shouldn't be sit back and they watch this stuff and they're just smoking cigars, laughing their asses off? Like,
well, we're laughing. I'm sure they're laughing because they're rich. So I mean, they're definitely entertained. But, they have their puppets that are even more entertaining, like Jay-Z and those types that, dance around on TV for them and throw up their symbols and use their family's lineage, like Rockefeller, like it's cool, to use that name for your branding.
Well, I mean, what is it with this whole new movement of, if you really take a look at somewhere this money has grassrooted from, like the Nazi era, excuse me, like the Rockefellers, they funded the Mengele experiments, but now they're really influential not only in our media but in the world in general. And then you have the Bush family who funded the Nazis. They're really prominent now, and all these different minds, the Kissingers, the Soros, all invested with Nazism. They're all very powerful people. We were talking about Monsanto, GMOs, and it all leads to this bizarre thing, this Bilderberg group, where they all meet, and we're really seeing this kind of culture in our world right now. It's really creepy.
I think...
Go ahead, Papa. To the Bilderberg group? The last one? Was it 2013, 14? No, 2014
I went to
this year, so.
I went to the 2012 one. It was in London in 2013. I would have loved to gone. Couldn't get across.
You went to Chantilly, Virginia, right?
Yeah, Virginia. He was at.
Yeah, that was quite the experience, man. Let me tell you, part of me on the way there was like, I hope this even goes down, because I road tripped it from Milwaukee, and it was a good 20-hour drive. So basically, we hit it. Me and Julio from We Are Change Chicago. Julio Roseo, a lot of you guys know him. He's been on InfoWars and stuff. But
yeah, I've had him on. He's a good guy.
Yeah, awesome guy. And a couple other We Are Change guys. We road tripped it out to Chantilly. And I was really worried because when I showed up, we were there a couple days early, and there wasn't really any signs of it. But then they started rolling in the chain link fences, and then you see them set up the remote camera. Then you start seeing the black diplomat limousines pulling up with tinted windows. Then you start seeing Henry Kissinger and Bill Gates pulling up, and it's yeah, this is a lot more real than people thought it was. It really hits you like a brick to the face. Here it is. Nobody can tell me that this isn't real anymore. They're meeting here in secret. I'm standing right here. It's that's it. You can't argue with that.
Well, we were joking tonight about the CFR because everyone thought the CFR was a conspiracy. The CFR didn't exist. But as we all know now, the CFR does exist. And if you don't accept their global agenda, you're a conspiracy theorist.
Google or look on YouTube or Startpage or whatever search engine you want. And I only say, I know Google's evil, whatever. People are like, you advertise for them. No, it's just most people that listen to the show would use it, so I just say it. It's more
the information hub. Have to use it.
It's more of I use it more of an adjective, you know what I mean, more than anything else, or a verb, whatever. I don't really
use the Google.
Yes, exactly. Well, the Google, right? Anyway, if you look up Hillary Clinton takes her orders, or Hillary Clinton admits the CFR runs the government, I think is the title of the video I put up. It's on YouTube. Just look up Yeah, Hillary Clinton admits CFR runs the government. That should bring it up. And she's speaking at a Council on Foreign Relations meeting when she was the Secretary of State. And she's like, it's a good thing, that you guys are right up the road, so I don't have too far to go when I need to be told what to do. Ha 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 ha. And they're all laughing. Ha 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 ha.
What a good little slave she is.
She's disgusting.
Yeah, she's just a perfect little puppet, isn't she?
Hillary 2016.
Yeah, she might be our next president. It's very likely. I mean, you saw what has occurred in the Clinton administration and with her Senate races and all the things she's done. Basically, the Clintons are not trustworthy people. I forgot the guy's name. They stole millions of dollars from him, and they just lied about it. He used to work with Apple, I believe. But I can't remember the guy's name. Pete something.
Just look at how bizarre and how opposite their personalities supposedly are. She's a big advocate for women's rights, and Bill's here a big violator of women's rights. I mean, that right there should tell you the whole story. That's all deception.
She's his handler. That's what that's what I'll just say about that. She's his handler. He's the one.
Hillary was the boss there.
You could tell. If you watch body language, you can see it now still. She's the boss. She's his handler. And from research I've done, I've talked to Fritz Springmeier about this. I asked Fritz Springmeier, I said, Bill Clinton mind controlled? And he was like, yep. I said, is Hillary Clinton his handler? And he said, yep, you're right on the money. And I've asked other people, and I've done the research, just, looking into it. You'll see other people have said the same thing. Kathy O'Brien in her book, Transformation of America, she said the same thing. Other people have said the same thing.
It's very bizarre because that Hillary could have never got to the presidential position without Bill. You know what I mean? It would have never happened her first. I'm saying you needed Bill there to get that position and get her to be a more prominent figure, I think.
Well, a lot of people make the mistake, and this is how the art of politics, I like to call it, it's like the art of war, but it's the art of politics. Okay, this is how it's done. A lot of times, it's not the person that's in the spotlight, it's the person behind the person in the spotlight.
Right, like Cheney and Bush and right.
Rahm Emanuel and Obama.
Biden and Obama right now.
Obama is his own bad individual in his own right, but you got to look at behind him. Who are the people who are his advisors and his most quote-unquote trusted colleagues, right? Those are the people, his chief of staff, those are the people you need to look at. And, they're the ones that have more of an effect. And that's usually the best way to do things. It's subterfuge. People are looking at that outer layer, Obama, Bush, whoever's the president, Clinton. They're looking at that outer layer. They take all the flack and the heat. And Obama's just good at, talking. He's a smooth talker. Okay, he's just good at it. That's all. People don't realize it.
He's like an actor. He's like an actor.
He's a wordsmith. He knows how to say the right thing and twist it so it just sounds just
turn
right
off
in the
his
ear.
tape.
Yeah.
Though you turn
He'll
off
talk you to sleep, man. I'm telling
it's
you.
Over. He'll stumble through everything if you turn off.
You can read a lullaby, man.
Because he's not original. He's a good actor. He's just not good at actually, thinking and off the cuff. He's not that fast. That's different. But he can act, and he's good at getting people to believe his BS, and he does what he's supposed to do. And then the people behind the scenes are the ones that, they're actually the ones that are pushing the agenda. I mean, not that he doesn't have his own agenda. Anyway, I want to cut us off because the break is sneaking up on us. Ladies and gentlemen, do not go anywhere. 3 short minutes. We will be right back. Hour number 2 coming up. I know. When I hang out with these guys, we're all over the place. So you're just going to have to hang on for the wild ride, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. It is Thursday, February 27th, 2014. I'm hanging out with my 2 friends, the dynamic duo, the hosts of the Rundown Live, Kristan Harris and Mike Paczesny. These guys are awesome if you haven't figured it out already. They are radio show hosts. They run a website. They write articles. These guys actually go out on the street and do stuff. I believe Mike is a member of Cop Block, which I'm going to have him get into later on, talk about that briefly. I mean, these guys they're all around awesome human beings. They're very good friends of mine, and I am honored to be able to bring them to the airwaves this evening. Welcome back, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us on. We didn't go anywhere, Popeye.
So I want to start picking your brains about a bunch of different things. First thing I want to pick your brains about before we forget is the subject of legalization of cannabis, because we were talking about this during the break a little bit, and I know this is a very hot button topic for the both of you. I know you've talked about it on your broadcast before. Are you guys in your state right now getting cannabis legalized? Like, is it on the ballot for total legalization, medical? What's the deal?
Well, it's very interesting that you mentioned that. In Wisconsin, we don't have open ballot access here, so they have to have hearings and such. And there's actually a Senator, Leah Vukomir, who is actually not allowing these hearings and conversation to be had. But there is a bill that's being proposed to have full legalization of marijuana here in Wisconsin. I can give you an idea of some of the different ways that Mike and I have been involved. For me, I can speak. I'm a conservative. I'm a member of the Republican Party, but I'm a libertarian Republican, and I've put much stress on the Wisconsin. Mike and I both have actually put a lot of stress on the Republican conservative movement, stating how are more courts and more prisons conservative and limited government. I mean, it goes down to the saying that I've never seen a pothead who was violent or anything of that. Maybe they might steal their roommate's Oreos, but above and beyond that, should we really be criminalizing our youth over something as simple as marijuana, or something that could get people off of things like Oxycontin or oxycodone, which are highly addictive?
Well,
and
that's the big thing.
That's the big thing
on that. We have a huge problem with heroin addiction, pain killer addiction, prescription addiction. And it's not just here in Wisconsin, Milwaukee area. It's all over the United States. And they're lumping pot into this. Specifically, Scott Walker, our governor here in Wisconsin, came out and said, smoking marijuana is the gateway drug, and it leads to heroin use. And it's like, to even
who told them that? I mean,
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous because what leads to heroin use is people abusing prescription pain medication, opiates, right?
Not
exactly.
cannabinoids, yeah. And it's absolutely ridiculous.
How about no mention of Afghanistan and the war of terror actually upping the opium production, but it has nothing to do with heroin here in the United States at all. So,
well, we have a huge alcohol lobby, we have a huge timber lobby, and it shows you that, we have the Miller Corporation, we have a huge forestry corporation industry here in Wisconsin, and that's who runs the state through the lobby. At the end of the day, that's.
To give you an idea, we just had our Republican caucus, and at the caucus, I questioned one of the people who was kind of near Leah Vukomir about it, and he said, well, you'd have better chances trying to get Cuban cigars legalized, because she's probably would be really interested in that. So it gives you an idea of where the priorities really are, because this can actually, you have to ask yourself at the end of the day, would you rather give your kid a pot brownie or Oxycontin or oxycodone, something that would cause addiction and repeat business for these pharmacists who are really against marijuana because
versus something
leads to heroin? But
right.
Even though Oxycontin, we have millions of people who drive to work every day in Oxycontin, and I guarantee you there's a big bias with their law enforcement. If they pull you over, you're on Oxycontin, they see the pill prescription, the odds are you probably wouldn't get a ticket, but if you smell like marijuana, well, there you go. You might get more time than a rapist or murderer in prison. What is wrong with people in this system? And it goes with the Republican Party. Where's the tolerance? And it's really frustrating.
Well, Wisconsin gave up their ballot initiative a long time ago. And see, a lot of states are able to go out and get signatures, Colorado, and among others. They could go out and say, get a certain X number of signatures and get things on ballots, get bills passed through that type of way. And see, Wisconsin, we gave that up a long time ago. So now it's up to our lawmakers and lawyers to basically, write our bills. We don't trust the public with signatures. So now when the legalization process comes up to, the people in office, all they have to do is just not look at it or never open the envelope or never talk about it.
I'm not going to lie to you, Popeye. It sounds a lot like our whole federal government. The state, much like it with much like with our federal government, the people polled 50% of Wisconsinites want full legalization of marijuana. 80% want medical legalization of medicinal marijuana, and there's no hearings. Both parties want nothing to do with it, and neither of them want to do what the citizens want. It was the same thing with the whole NSA spying bill, which they shotgunned within 24 hours. Majority of people do not want NSA spying, and I'm sure if they would have let that thing sit for 3 more days, it would have never gotten passed, or it would have gotten passed to repeal the NSA spying. It's one of those things where they just don't agree with the public. The lobbyists are funding both sides of the government, the Democrats and Republicans, and getting the same result. So what's the point? I mean, when both presidents are being funded by, let's say, big banks and Halliburton and Blackwater, should we expect different outcomes?
No, not at all. And people need to, the anti-pot crowd, really? All I have to say is, really? I put my hands up at you and go, what, really? It's 2014. If you don't know all of the medicinal uses of cannabis and all of the positive just things that happen to your body when you ingest it, literally making cannabis oil on a regular basis, like a vitamin supplement, okay, not even if you are sick and have a disease, but almost as a preventative measure, okay, there's no reason for you not to know about this stuff. There's just none. There's not any reason in the world for people out there to be ignorant the way they are. And you know what? Most of this country is not. More than half this country wants it legalized. You realize that, right? The majority says it's stupid and we need to stop it.
What's the holdup with the medical use of it? I mean, we just saw a Spain study. Yeah,
medical should be a given. I mean,
here, I'll tell you how they do it really quick.
I'm talking about the curing of cancer.
I'll tell you how they do it. This is how they do it, because that's big pharma, because they don't want to cure cancer because, A, they can make a lot more money with more people being sick, and B, they can also kill off a certain, the powers that shouldn't be. They can kill off a certain amount of people faster, blah, blah, blah. But the way that they stop it, they being the government, the powers that shouldn't be here in the U.S., stop it from being used for more medicinal purposes than it already is because hospitals cannot legally do research with it on the premises. They could get raided if they get found out, because it's a Schedule I drug.
It doesn't have any medicinal purpose, Popeye.
That's what they say.
It's worse than cocaine, right?
Well, they say it's on par with heroin. I mean, it's ridious. They say
if you smoke weed, you'll do heroin, according to Scott Walker. Just gonna.
It's not only him either. According to the head of the FBI, Mueller, when he was the head of the FBI a couple of years ago, look this up. Go on YouTube and look up milk is the gateway drug. Milk is the gateway. Yeah, milk is the gateway drug to bourbon, or the gateway drink to bourbon, or something like that. And you'll see him testify. He was testifying to one of these committees in Congress, and this congressman was talking to him about cannabis, and he wasn't buying it, that it's a gateway drug. And he said to him, if cannabis is a gateway drug to heroin, then milk is a gateway drug to bourbon. And Mueller was like, yes, it is. Like saying that, yes, milk is a gateway drug to bourbon.
Well, because it fits his rule, because if you'll say that, then, any liquid could be the gateway drug to alcohol, any drug or substance. But see, that's the thing. That's why we got to stress that it's not heroin that's leading people to heroin use, or pot. It's opiates and painkillers, which we know. How many middle-aged women, your girlfriends, wives, mothers, are on, large amounts of prescription pills. I mean, the epidemic of women on painkillers and barbiturates, like antipsychotic medication in this country, is astronomical. Whether it's Xanax, lorazepam, I'm dead serious. I mean, and this is a major problem. This is basically just controlling your behavior, and they don't want you to have pot. I mean, what the hell?
Mike, they generalize it. Basically, it's like one of those things where like almost 80% of Americans have tried or have smoked marijuana at one point in their life or puffed on it in college or whatever it is. It's like saying you drink a beer at one point. Oh boy, that must have led to heroin use. I bet you that person also smoked a cigarette once in their life. Maybe it was a cigarette that led to heroin use. Just because somebody smoked marijuana at one point in their life, yes, they did. That doesn't mean it led to marijuana. I'm sure a lot of bad decisions led to the whole heroin use. I can tell you this. There's probably a lot of more pharmacists and pharmaceutical people who are on heroin, Oxycontin, than stoners. I can guarantee you that. And that's what it really comes down to. They're protecting their drug dealers. The pharmaceutical industry makes a ton of money of getting you hooked on these Oxycontin, opiates, like Mike mentioned, the Vikes, the Xanax and everything else. But they don't want to give you marijuana because it's non-addictive. They don't have the repeat business. And that's the lobbying, the corrupt government we have. It's the same thing with the whole medical industry and treating symptoms and not treating the cause. Why do you think they're so quick to hand out these medications? Because they want to treat symptoms and not actually cure the cause. If they really wanted to cure the cancer, they want to cure the illness, they go after what's causing the illness. They don't just treat the symptoms. They're treating human beings like the automobiles they are to make money. So it's disgusting.
I was just going to say, Popeye, as far as legalization movement in Wisconsin, there is a growing movement with normal local activist groups. We Are Change. We had a marijuana summit a few weeks ago where we gathered 100 people up in a local tavern here. The news was there. So the drums of legalization,
and liberals too.
Yeah, right. The drums of legalization are beating in Wisconsin, and the people want it. They're going to get it. Otherwise, there's going to be problems.
There's no reason it shouldn't be legal. Look, they should just end busting people's balls about it, stop, and let it go. You know what part of this is? Part of this is them not wanting to admit that they've been wrong. Because if it's legalized now and they see that all these people are going to be helped, they're going to be looked at for all of the stupid things they did. The people they shot and killed over a bag of weed, over a joint, They raid someone's house over an ounce of weed and they kill his dogs and maybe shoot him, or shoot somebody else in the house. They kill little girls when they SWAT team people's houses. Oh, we raided the wrong house. We were looking for somebody with an ounce of marijuana. We accidentally killed your 9-year-old daughter on the couch. But hey, we're sorry. We're the police. You can't do anything.
Don't worry.
War on drugs. War on drugs. It's like 9/11. War on drugs. That's their excuse. You're like, why'd you violate my rights? War on drugs.
I'd like to point out how ludicrous this whole marijuana leads to heroin claim is. That would be like saying George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, Benjamin Franklin, Abraham Lincoln, and all these founders who smoked marijuana, they'd all be heroin addicts. How about Barack Obama, Sarah Palin, George Bush, Barack Obama? Do they all do heroin now too? Because they smoked marijuana at one time, Popeye. But based on that logic, Scott Walker, we're dealing with a bunch of heroin addicts in our government. Maybe that's why things are all screwed up, Popeye. Maybe we got a bunch of heroin addicts running our country.
I'd say it's worse than that. I'd say they're insane and lost their
money-hungry people.
Control freaks.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, you're not too far off from the heroin addicts.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure a lot of them, those pills affect your mood too. They make you angry, and they change you. They affect your brain. Not only do you think that you're just killing your pain, but you're also changing your brain chemistry, and
your rationality goes out there. People start to become irrational. I'll tell you what. Popeye, I'm a bartender part-time, and I hate to admit it, but like I can tell the people who are on the prescription pills because after 2 beers, they go from being really happy to all of a sudden really crashed and sad and crying, and then they're upset and angry, and then they need a hug, and then they love you, and then you ask them, hey, are you on any prescription pills? And they're like, I'm not on prescriptions, and then they yell and they go, it's not the pills, and all along, obviously, it was the antidepressants. I think, what is it? They're trying to get everyone on these antidepressants, aren't they? Isn't that the goal?
Well, they hand them out for free samples. They give them to you. You got to take them if you go to jail, and anytime the forced medications. That's just the way it is.
Prozac, which is what 90% fluoride or something.
Right, just fluoride pills, pretty much. The more concentrated.
One of your callers, I was listening to the show live tonight before I came on, and one of your callers was talking about Soma.
Right,
said,
right.
I think they made a pill called Soma. They did.
Right.
And it was highly addictive. It's there's still some places you can get it, but it's really not readily available anymore.
It was a painkiller, right?
It was like a muscle relaxant, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And it literally turned people. I saw people take it. This was going 8-9 years ago. I saw people that took it. They were prescribed it, and it literally just one of these things would turn them into a zombie. Just bleh. It literally numbed them. People took them. They said they would take them because they said it, quote, made them feel numb.
Well, right, and you bring that up because the caller was actually mentioning the book A Brave New World and mentioning how they were giving him that substance, and then we brought up the fact that, didn't they actually name a real drug after that exact substance? And here we are talking about it now where people are zombified from the drug from A Brave New World. It just makes sense that, they would literally mimic that exact reference from the book. That's where they got the name from. I mean, they didn't even try to hide it,
And another good analogy would be the movie Equilibrium, where everyone had to take a pill to not feel emotions because the emotions were illegal. It's the same thing where they want to desensitize everyone.
Well, rainwater's illegal, so why not emotions? I mean, you can't feel, you can't collect rain,
Rondo's good as electrolytes.
Yeah, exactly. Electrolytes are the reason everything goes, I mean, that's the best way to do things.
How do the police that enforce these retarded laws actually look at themselves in the mirror?
I don't know. I got pulled over yesterday. I was pretty upset by that, but the cop was actually cool with me. We talk about the police a lot. I mean, I know, Popeye, you've seen all these recent murders from the police murdering children with Wii controllers and plastic guns,
but the police chief said it was justified.
Right, and shooting firefighters, and then
I was talking about that before you guys came on. I was talking about police.
That was in Kansas City.
Yeah,
right.
In Kansas City.
I mean, it's sick. It's sick. Well, Baltimore, you don't have your First Amendment rights. The guy jacks him against the wall, and
in Wisconsin, they're staking out baby deer and raiding animal shelters with SWAT teams.
Right. If you say
they staked out a baby deer for 24 hours, like James Bond style, and then they went in with the SWAT raid to euthanize a baby deer.
Are you guys the state where they did that? Where they killed the baby deer? They executed it and put it in a plastic bag and slung it over their shoulder.
Yep. And then the next day was supposed to go to a safe shelter in Illinois where they allow homeless deer to be taken care after, and they didn't like that. But it was just an animal, nonetheless.
But how insane? How insane is that?
They wore ghillie suits and hid in the field.
Taxpayer money. That's
time.
But how insane is that?
Over a baby fawn deer.
The deer is going to get given away to a farm where it's going to be taken care of for its entire life, fed, loved, just have an awesome life. And this SWAT team is like, no, like hell that's going to happen. This is what you're doing, Johnson. You come in from the helicopter. Okay, Ross, you come over here, and I want you and the heavy machine gunner to just mow down that deer. If he comes around that corner, you kill that little son of a bitch. Let's go. I mean, are you kidding me?
That's
How
literally
many
exactly what
thousands
happened.
of taxpayer dollars went towards it. They staked it out the night before, binoculars, probably with face paint. The guy probably got on his G.I. Joe uniform. He was all in the grass.
Fun for them. They wait to bust out all their federal.
That's how they hire them. They're like, you like to play Call of Duty? You do? You're in. All right. Welcome to the police force.
Right? They're like, come here. We have 3 criteria. Your IQ has to be lower than 100. You have to love playing Call of Duty, and your penis has to be the size of my pinky finger. You fit all 3? Cool. Come on in.
All 3 of those are verified factual as well. Well, at least the IQ one for sure.
I was talking about that on air before you guys came on. How seriously, there's proof. Like, people have sued over.
There was a class action lawsuit. It was called "Too Smart to Be Good Cop," and that was the articles that they are litmus testing police officers who just follow orders, but are not critical thinkers, and if you're good with discernment, they don't want you. They'd rather people just stick to the code, stick to the line, and that's the way it is. One of the biggest problems we see today in police brutality is the lack of discernment by officers. Why do they do some of the things that they do? Why are we ruining children's lives over jaywalking and taking them down? Did you see that?
Why did the officer pick the fight with the drunk guy? Why did he shoot him?
Yeah.
Why did he use a taser? He has a baton. Where's his backup? He could have backed off, but see, they're rabid. They're rabid, and they have rabies, and they want to attack because they have all their toys, and they think we're the enemy because they're being taught that we, the American citizen, the average people, you and me and Popeye and the listeners, everybody out there, we are the enemy, and we're being treated as the enemy. We go through Nazi-style checkpoints inland, inside the United States. We're snatched and grabbed. They're put their hands down our pants. You can't even fly. You're pulled over. You got to have licenses. I mean, it's crazy the amount of control they have.
And look at the change in training. It used to be shoot to disarm. Now it's shoot to kill. No hesitation. Did you see those no hesitation props? Pregnant women and 6-year-old children, grandma and grandpas. Come on, man. What kind of good guy wants to shoot a grandma and grandpa? I mean,
well, you're not a good cop unless you shoot grandpa, Kristan.
I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous how they're trying to desensitize us. We had a caller tonight talk about how the military is training to confiscate guns. How asinine is that? The one thing that keeps this country safe is what they want to take away from us, but they want to roll out 13,000 MRAPs that they're giving away free to local police officers. You want to know why?
That 9 per county in most states?
Well, let me tell you why that is. Because if there's a problem, they can bring together all these counties, and then they can have their little army. What's to say a foreign country doesn't get their own people politically involved to take over our police force? And then they have a little army. Then we have a little war. Then America is a war zone. This is a bad idea. There's a reason why there's posse comitatus. We should not have these military vehicles on our soil. Colleges are getting them. Look it up. It's ridiculous, Popeye. What's the purpose? 13,000 MRAPs. What are they going to do with these? Guide traffic?
Probably. That's what they're going to do. They're going to stand out there and guide traffic, and also they're going to blow in your door when they steal your family away from you for growing an illegal plant, which might not even be marijuana. It might
I like
be
how
a
they
tomato.
call them rescue vehicles.
Right. Yes, SWAT.
We're going to keep
rescue.
you safe from smoking marijuana by breaking in your door and killing you first.
Exactly. Drop that plant. We saved the shit out of that whole family.
Right, and my argument was, doesn't this vehicle escalate the situation greatly? Like, if you have an unstable individual, when this vehicle shows up, you're basically putting that individual in the position where they're faced with like this great force. What happened in negotiations and doing things the right way? Right now, they just come in full force, and it's basically They just want you
warrants,
dead. They want you dead.
Warrants are up like 2,000%. Hey, you want to know what's really creepy? And I really want to tie this into some non-conspiracy and some crazy technology. How many of these things are going to be docked with voices of God weaponry? We've seen it where they can beam voices right into people's heads, and no one will hear a sound unless they beam it right at you. Julio Russo experienced that, right, Mike?
S-Quad tech, dude, they can do that with. You want to see an old version
of built right in with all these
They do it with billboards. Go look up. I have the video on one of my Federal Jack channels, actually a couple of them. It's a billboard for an A&E TV show called Paranormal State, this old TV show. And when you walk down the street facing a certain direction towards this billboard, on this one block, you'd hear whispers in your ear, and people were freaking out, and they actually caught it on video, and it was coming from the billboard.
But it sounds like it's right.
It sounds like it's in your ears, like it's right behind you. But hey, we're conspiracy theorists. I'm going to cut us off because the break's sneaking up. Ladies and gentlemen, do not go anywhere. Final half hour coming up with my two guests. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment. Kristan Harris, Mike Paczesny, The Rundown Live. If you don't know the radio show, go check it out. Check their archives out. Guys, before I forget, because we will get sidetracked with chatting, I want you to plug your YouTube channels, Facebook, Twitter, and everything else in your radio show right now.
Well, the best way you guys can find us, one easy, one-stop shop, therundownlive.com or rundownlive.com. That leads you to everything, the Twitters, the Facebook, the YouTube. We come out with articles on a daily basis. We posted like 3 or 4 articles just today. Our podcast archives are
we're free on the cell phones like iPhones, Google Play phones. If you got jailbroken phones, we're on Amazon. Our app is free. You can listen to past episodes. You can download them. Listen to them at your convenience. You can tuck it under your pillow so you can listen to Mike and I at your convenience or when you're falling asleep, I guess.
You know, the Rundown Live is the best place to check it out. That's where you can hear us live and all that. Basically, everything you need is right there.
Awesome. And I urge the listeners to go check you guys out because, look, ladies and gentlemen, again, when I say I listen to their radio show, that's not radio shtick. I really do listen to their radio show, or else I wouldn't have known about the caller calling in talking about Soma.
Right, exactly.
Like, there's no way I would have known what one of their callers was talking about unless I was listening to the show before I came on air. While I was getting ready, I was tuned in listening to them live. So I urge you to check their stuff out. They do a good broadcast. As you can see here tonight, they have an awesome flow between the two of them.
Which is an honor you even compliment us, Popeye.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. You'd put
I don't take pats on the back too well, you know.
Yeah, neither of us do. And hey, before we get off topic real quick, I wanted to mention about this whole Voices of God weaponry. It's creepy that they can do that, put voices in your head. But I wanted to explain it to your listeners real quick so it's very easy for them to understand. The human body is made up of 98% water, and what microwaves do is they go between water molecules and they vibrate, and it doesn't take much for them to tweak that frequency in order to have them put sounds in your head. And the difference between somebody who's schizophrenic is somebody who hears voices within their head, and there's thousands of people that are springing up from all throughout the United States who are hearing voices from outside of their head, including the Navy Yard shooter, which is what I kind of want to tie it into and get your thoughts on. The Navy Yard shooter 2 weeks prior filed a police report where he is hearing voices speaking to him through the floor, and we believe he was I believe anyways, that he was attacking the Navy Yard because that's where the voices were coming from. It's very bizarre.
I don't know if that's necessarily, the way I'm going to look at that one.
No, Mike and I see it a little differently, but it's bizarre that he heard voices and the voice of God weaponry, and he claimed that these people...
crazy people, you know what I mean? That's my opinion, but I know
it drives people crazy.
It's real. We've seen the LRAD in Pittsburgh. They used it on Luke and others that were at the G20. I mean, we've seen it rolled out multiple other times. We saw conspiracy theory. Yeah, Popeye mentioned the billboard. So, I mean, they have it, but this particular individual, I'm not sold, although he did file the report,
And he said it was a microwave gun that was putting voices in his head that he knew about, and he actually had access to these military contractors.
It's not like we would ever know, and you need for some of this kind of stuff. And
we had the police report actually posted on our site where you put this information. Is pretty
a lot of times these guys, though, they always claim it's the government. The schizophrenics, they file lawsuits and all kinds of stuff because they don't know where to turn. So it's easy to blame some entity as huge as the government. That must be the problem. But when you really boil it down, if there was like voice of God weapons, really, I mean, if I'm just being real with the listeners, they'd be from privatized corporations. They'd be targeting high-level individuals. They wouldn't be targeting people working at Walmart. And now, is there weird frequencies going out through antennas and satellites? That could be true, affecting people differently. But I don't think these people are... they refer to them as targeted individuals, and I in the case.
Well, the only thing that they all have in common is something with the government. They either work for the government. A lot of these people do.
It's easy for them to blame that, and now I'm not trying to discount the whole thing, but I just want to provide a rational argument.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Mike and I do the devil's advocate thing all day, by the way. So
that's the only way to figure. That's the only way to.
You have to have quality conversation and debate, and regardless of the outcome, what we find out is that we provide all the evidence and allow you to make a decision, and that's one thing we've lost a lot in media. Media wants to tell you what to think, not how to think, and I think that's a lost trait. Even in our educational system with Common Core, they want to teach you what to think and not how to think, and you're kind of a lab rat.
Yeah. What's your repeaters? Yeah, exactly. And that's what the media is as well. That's why Popeye Show, Federal Jack, The Rundown Live, and so many others that are really doing good work. That's why you guys are needed. That's why listeners that are listening right now, that's why we need you to join up with groups and start your own radio shows. Just start your own.
Use your talents. Find the things you're good at. If you're good at writing music.
Right. Articles. All kinds of things. If you're an artist, do the Connecticut guy does 9/11 truth graffiti, and I'm not saying go do illegal graffiti.
Things up.
But there's things that you could do to get involved. I just have to stress that me and Kristan are just regular guys. We're not trying to get rich.
Hey, Mike's regular. I'm really unregular.
I always tell our listeners that we're not trying to drive Bentleys and shame them. If you want to contribute to the show, it's only to make the show better so more people can be reached and better information can be posted. It's not about, becoming this like ultimate success. Like a lot of people make it too much about them, and that's not why I got involved. I'm sure that's not why Popeye or Kristan got involved.
Well, I don't want to. We're here to preach a message of liberty and individual freedom, which we have lost. That more government is less freedom, and less government is more freedom. And then everything we should look at politically should be that way. Is it more tyranny or less tyranny? Why are we raping our women and children to keep us safe from terrorists at the airport? Isn't that terrorism? Isn't that the definition of terrorism? And then yet to have the TSA never wants to stop a terrorist or anything like that, but they want you to throw away your bottle of water, right there in the garbage. When I went to the airport, Mike, last time I flew there, like, yeah, you got to throw that bottle of water away. And he said, why? Because it could be explosives. Well, if it's explosives, why are you telling me to throw it away? What's wrong with you? It's all conditioning.
It's the gas pile there in front of the TA.
So wait, you could either throw it away or you could guzzle it right then and there and then throw away the empty bottle.
Well, you're gonna piss out the explosives in like the airplane.
Right. If you're on the plane, the explosives are in you. So how is it acceptable for you to drink the explosive and get on the plane? But if it's in said water bottle, that's where it becomes some sort of danger.
He left out the key detail.
Their pee on fire.
You can buy another water on the other side of the checkpoint for $7. So that's the trick. You throw away the water, but once you go through the checkpoint, you can buy another water. So don't worry.
Is that water anti-terrorist, anti-bomb water? Because if you had terrorist explosive water in your bottle, and you drank said terrorist explosive water, and then walked through the checkpoint, the water still got through the checkpoint. It was just in a different container. It wasn't in said plastic bottle. So the water you buy on the other side, is that anti-terrorist explosive water?
It probably is, Popeye. It's probably the best, most expensive water anyone has ever seen.
Yeah, that water shoots your pee on fire so you can blow up the airplane according to the TSA. That's why you got to throw it away. That water is highly explosive and energetic.
Did you see Trendy TSA? Did you guys see this video, Trendy TSA, on YouTube?
Joy Camp?
No. Joy Camp did an awesome TSA video as well. But Trendy TSA has the guys... it's a parody video at the checkpoint, and they basically are like harassing a guy that's coming up in like a camouflage hat, and I think he's got like an InfoWars shirt on or something, and pretty much he just gets harassed by the two TSA guys. They call him a terrorist and stuff, and then a woman comes up after him wearing like an Obama shirt, and they're all friendly with her, and she forgot her ticket, and they still let her on the plane. And it's just they were so trendy though, and they tasted the drinks with little straws. Like, oh, they tasted everybody's coffee and stuff. Well, it's so trendy.
Well, I mean, that touches base with recent news where they just let some Muslim extremists through the airport without a pat-down or anything. But you or I, as Americans, if we go through that checkpoint, we get ravaged. They rape our women and children by sticking their hands down their pants. But the terrorists that are coming to visit our country don't get patted down at all. They let them walk right through because they might be insulted.
Dude, it's literally like the movie. It's literally like the movie Airplane. Where they're patting down the little old lady and busting her balls because she sets off the metal detector, and the guy's walking through with a bandolier of bullets and the machine gun, and he just walks right through.
It's basically
exactly it. That's a great analogy. It's so funny. Oh my god!
And I think we've played that on the show before. I think it gets flagged on YouTube, so we don't play that one anymore because obviously it's part of the movie Airplane. So just for all you YouTubers out there, don't use that clip; it'll get flagged.
Yeah, they
damn those guys.
YouTube loves to flag videos, man. The censorship is just blatant.
You know about that, Mister.
Well, Mark Howard got it bad. I didn't get it so bad so quick. He got like 10,000 views in a day, and it was like, boom.
Dude, that's the way it works, dude. I've had so many channels taken down. It's ridiculous.
Thousands.
You want to see something incredible? All right, go to YouTube and type in Federal Jack Tube 3. Just Federal Jack Tube and the number 3, all one word. Okay. Usually when a channel gets taken down, it has that little red bar. You know, it'll like if you look for it, it'll show up in the search results. It's like along the header. It's like a red in red. It says this channel's been closed or suspended or whatever, terminated. No. This one doesn't say that. The channel opens up and you can go to the channel. It's just gutted. Everything is gone, but the channel's there. It's almost like what they used to do with pirates. The British used to get the pirates and hang them, and then they'd leave them hanging from a yardarm at the entrance to the bay with a sign around their neck that said pirate as a warning to other pirates coming in saying this is what we do to pirates. Well, it's like what they did to my YouTube channel. Back in the day, that was one of the most popular YouTube channels going back like 3-4 years ago. I actually have screenshots of it when they used to give out the awards for most subscribed of the week or the day and everything. Well, that channel was skyrocketing. It was full of full-length truth videos, 2 seasons of conspiracy theory with Jesse Ventura. And at the time, I was one of the first people. It was Justin Wayless and myself were like the first 2 individuals to be getting the conspiracy theory episodes up on YouTube when they were coming out on TV. Like they would come out on True TV, and like within 2 hours, there was him, myself, and maybe one other person that would have him up on YouTube already. Channel went through the roof. All of a sudden, it got like a bazillion copyright strikes. I started fighting them off. I got the channel back. Had the channel back for a day. Everything was operational, and YouTube just suspended it, but didn't give me an option of emailing them, nothing. And since it was suspended a couple of years ago, never, ever, ever have they answered one email requesting that they reinstate it and put all the videos back live. I mean, that channel was literally gaining between 500 and 1,000 subscribers each day, and they just gutted it, killed it.
I definitely remember viewing it years ago, and that's how they do it. And they thank the Google gods for giving you your channel back. But they've gutted all the information. Don't worry about that though. You got your channel back, so be grateful, right? You know.
It sounds a lot like taxes. They take all that money the whole year, and then they give you $300 back. They say, "Hey, be grateful for that. We only took now 50%." You know, but
it's a lot of good information that they just take out of your hands. You know, I mean, that's pretty sad at the end of the day when you're just trying to share this information. You're not profiting off this stuff. I mean, you know, that really sucks. You know, a lot of cool things have been lost due to YouTube's copyright standards. And I think, you know, that actually happened when you mentioned Justin and the conspiracy stuff. He actually had a Facebook page, the Conspiracy Theory Facebook page, that had like 200,000 likes. And I'm not trying to crap on the Ventura people, but they stole that page. Did you know about that, Popeye? You remember this?
Yeah, I heard about that.
They merged the page we basically had a Jesse Ventura page that had like hundreds of thousands of likes, and the official True TV, when it was still True TV, page only had a few thousand, and basically they put a claim in with Facebook and just stole our channel. So I mean, you know, whether or not it was
because you guys had more likes, huh?
Well, right, and they just took it over. And like, oh, you don't own this channel. You were using his name anyway, so they get all your likes. And they're just like, that's it. Bye. It's like, I've been running this page, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but that
you're not a big corporation with, you know, millions of dollars to pay scumbag attorneys. So
right, and that just shows you that these corporations, they have an in with YouTube somehow, where they're able just to like get their stuff removed very easily, whereas like you said, you've sent how many emails and contacted them how many times. I've never been able to contact Google. I don't even think you can, but yet, you know, they send out AdSense checks and all kinds of stuff, but yet they don't you know, contact you.
There used to be numbers listed. I remember, I don't know if they're still listed. I know there used to be numbers listed on message boards and stuff on how to get
like a real person. Yeah,
but you still never got anything satisfied. I mean, I've emailed, called, left messages, you know, had skywriters skywrite above their headquarters. I mean, it doesn't matter. They just send back a photocopy of the CEO's middle finger, and that's their response. They don't care.
Or they put Masonic symbolism in the Google image for the day.
It's just ridiculous, dude. And yet CNN has no issues putting up any of their videos. You know, if ABC gets a complaint from somebody, they don't get a copyright strike. They can still upload videos. That's not an issue. You know, but if it's you, me, or anybody else that's speaking truth to power...
Didn't Google buy YouTube recently, or is that
years ago? They've been on YouTube.
They for 4 or 5 years now. I remember when they merged it. I remember when there wasn't commercials on YouTube.
Well, I know that Google is like, specifically in America, we have the most requests to pull down YouTube videos above and beyond all other nations.
That's because America is like that. We're a bunch of...
Yeah, people think China is a police state. Yeah, well, China censors the internet. I'm glad we're in America where we're free.
We're in America where your neighbor tattles on you for having a pot garden in your backyard, or the cable guy climbs up...
Or cooking rice in your backyard, for that matter.
Seriously, the cable guy sees in your window and sees you're, like, illegally doing cable, and you get feds at your house. I mean...
Or the feds were digging around in somebody's trash, and then they found out that they had nothing but gardens inside. They thought they had hydro, because they had hydro equipment. It was like tomatoes and mangoes.
Remember that the CIA couple got raided because they purchased lights and stuff for indoor garden, and they actually raided them, and they only were growing tomatoes. Isn't that funny?
But hey, this is America with a K, guys. And here in America with a K, the police can raid your house for any reason they want.
And shoot your dogs and your kids, apparently.
With a no-knock warrant. What's the deal with all these no-knock warrants?
Well, look what just happened. That one, what was it, I think it was Texas, where they did a no-knock warrant, and the guy wasted the deputy.
Shot him through the wall, right.
Yeah. Yep. And then he didn't he ended up getting released from jail and not charged with anything because it was, they put the blame on the police, which is the truth. And of course,
why didn't they just call him? Why didn't they say we're outside?
And then just knock on the door.
But see, that's what they used to do. See, now they just run in with gun. How about the kid, this 17-year-old kid they shot with a gun? He opened the door and they shot him.
Wii controller?
Yeah, they didn't even get him. They didn't even get. He opens the freaking door. He's got a Wii controller in his hand. And they shot him through the chest for nothing.
They're scared, Popeye.
He had a gun in his hand. No, he didn't. He had a Wii controller. Dude, of course they're scared. They're operating on fear. They're taught that the general public is the enemy, and then, they go out and they have this mindset that it's them first and everybody else second. Look, if you're doing the job as a police officer, again, I know there are good cops out there, but this goes for all of you, good and bad. If you're doing the job as a cop, you signed up to do that job. That job is dangerous. It is not the most dangerous job in the world. Actually, being a tow truck driver is actually more dangerous, and you have a better chance of getting killed. Okay, working on the highways, you have a better chance of getting killed than being a cop. But I'll give you this. Your job can be dangerous, but you signed up for that. Okay? That would be like somebody joining the Marine Corps and then being like, I don't want to get shot at. You joined the wrong branch of the military for that.
You sure did. And they don't hold them accountable anymore now because they teach them that, they don't have to protect and serve. Their life is more important. Like Joe Lozito in the New York subway, the cop stood and watched as he was stabbed, and he doesn't have to protect you. So, that is the way it is today. And people, if you think the police are protecting you or helping you in any way, you're just flat out wrong. They don't even respond to crimes in Chicago anymore. They don't respond to burglaries. They don't respond to rapes. They don't respond to any of that. It's like, it's a joke. If you call the police, you're going to get probably murdered at this point. As sad as that sounds, it sounds psychotic. It really does. But look at the numbers. Just Google police murder, and you will see that there's been this week.
You're 8 times more likely to be killed by a police officer than a terrorist, Popeye. And let me tell you this. One thing's for sure. The police are no longer handing out free baseball cards to children. They're arresting them for making fake bows and arrows in high school and starburst-shaped guns. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, Pop-Tart, right.
And that wasn't even the gun. The Pop-Tart wasn't even in the shape of a gun. It was chewed into the shape of a mountain. And the teacher perceived it to be a gun. So because the teacher perceived it to be a gun, because of the teacher's completely irrational fear after Sandy Hook.
Right. Fear mindset. That's what this is all about. Fear-based mind control.
Which it doesn't even exist anymore because they tore it down. Let's not forget.
Oh, dude. Like I said before.
Evidence is like a 9/11 blueprint.
Like I said before, Sandy Hook is, that whole thing is just, you can't look at that event and not say that there's not something shady going on there.
Shady Schnook.
Yeah, right? Shady Hook. Instead of Sandy Hook, they should call it Shady Hook because...
Well, you saw the Memorial Playground.
The fool who's Shady Schnook.
Dude, I'll just reiterate what Kristan said. They obliterated this. They, pulverized it and made all the workers sign non-disclosure agreements. What?
Like it's a Hollywood film or something.
Yeah, exactly. What?
Non-disclosure for destroying a school?
Yeah.
It's because there's no way. What did they say? That kid went in there like an expert and shot 27 people in Columbine. Exactly. They shot a ton of bullets everywhere and only 13 people got killed.
Go
and
look up 2 other
He
massacres.
was a sniper.
You want to see something that resembles accuracy? It in the kind of the basic story? Just what you said, Kristan. Look up the Dunblane massacre and look up the Port Arthur massacre. One happened in Australia, the other happened over in Scotland.
Yeah, I don't know either one of those. But I do know there was a lot of shady things about that incident. And I know, Popeye, you're probably running short on time. So I just want to do a quick self-plug. I really appreciate you having us on, Popeye. If you guys can check out the Rundown Live, we're Monday through Friday. You can check us out before Popeye's show if you want to hang out. Hopefully you'll hear us soon right along with Popeye. We'll have to work something out. We don't really know yet. But, check out our stuff. Subscribe to us on YouTube, all that awesome stuff. And I just want to let you know that we really appreciate your time tonight, Popeye, man.
Hey, yeah, and if you guys are out there, add us on Facebook. We're real personable. Add the Rundown Live, or you can add Kristan Harris or Mike Paczesny on there. And if you're looking to find any more information on us, you can add us there. And we get into a lot of bizarre topics. I'm more of an ancient history type guy. Mike's more of an activist, and now
I'm like the realist, right?
Yeah, I'm more the Indiana Jones. He's more of the Inspector Gadget type guy. So
there you go. That's good.
But nonetheless, we really appreciate you, Popeye, really much. Thanks for having us on your show. It's always an honor, and we don't get a chance much to really just let loose and talk and BS
on the
with you.
other side, isn't it? It's fun to
it's a little awkward. You get a little paranoid, and
Kristan's always getting weirded out. I thought it was really fun, Popeye.
I
had a lot of fun, Popeye.
It's a nice break. It's a nice break, like when you're used to being the host. It's a nice break to be the guest and just be allowed to
relax.
Thing. Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? You don't have to worry about breaks. You don't have to
timing.
The miners pick. We're the ones with the pick in hand, always picking away at that rock there. Now it's nice for somebody to actually pick our brains. So.
Right, it's just fun. You don't have to watch the clock or any of that stuff. But it's been fun. I do appreciate it again, man.
Hey, and then I have to mention something from Milwaukee real quick. Global warming. What a scam. When are they going to put someone in jail for that, Popeye? It is freezing here. We're going to set a record for the most below 0 days on record in Wisconsin, possibly soon.
Well, didn't you hear? What happened was Al Gore is such a hot air-filled windbag that he sucked up all the hot air in all of North America, and it created this huge vacuum and pulled all of the polar cold air down, and that's what's causing this quote-unquote polar vortex at the base of the vortex.
Upset, dude. Somebody needs to go to jail for this garbage. No offense. It's ridiculous. It's pseudoscience, and there's too many Wall Street businesses that depend on this fake science, and if they collapse, they're worried about Wall Street. Somebody should be held accountable. Somebody needs to go to jail so they can start to fix things right, but we know that's not going to happen. So
just another example of a corrupt industry,
science is a huge corrupt industry.
In a perfect world, that's what would happen, but this is definitely not a perfect world. This is more like bizarre world. Guys, I'm going to cut us off because the break's sneaking up, but I'm going to have to get you guys back on again so we can have another 2 hours of all over the place radio. I know the listeners totally enjoyed it. I did. I know you guys did as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time. We are out of here. I will be back again live tomorrow night. As I always tell you every night when I sign off, do not look to others to solve your problems. As I always tell you, the solutions to our problems are an inside job. I love you all. I will catch you all again live tomorrow night. We are out of here.